was always at Wells.
He knows I'm working with someone.
He doesn't know with whom you're working. Not yet.
How can you be sure?
Because if he did, your father would be here right now in a flash, threatening to put his hand right through my heart.
Gilbert, if my father finds out you've been helping me try to catch Cicada behind his back, he'll hate me.
Shh. This can all be fixed. I can fix this.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash Season 5 Episode 13 video and an explainer for that mini Arrow crossover. The Reverse Flash is going to make everything alright though. No worries, it's totally not going to go sideways. There's a new round of the Reverse Flash Ring giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite moment from the episode on the video. Careful for spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. Top 10 WTF and comic book Easter eggs, starting with number 10. Reverse Flash and Nora's brand new plan. So as you can see, Reverse Flash is totally behind Nora's plan to distract Sherlock with the Earth 1 version of his ex-wife in the hopes that he'll be so obsessed with her that he won't think about what Nora's doing long enough for her and Reverse Flash to enact their plan to change the timeline to make the changes that they want to. Even though he's only the bookends of the episode, there's a lot to unpack with the way that he's going about manipulating Sherlock. Like, he goes into this big tirade about how because he's a Wells, or he's inhabiting a Wells, he understands the other versions of Wells across the multiverse. Even though Reverse Flash is a genius in his future, so he's way smarter than everyone else, that also implies that it works both ways, so Sherlock will understand Reverse Flash in a way that the other people on Team Flash do not. So that'll just come back around, they'll probably pay that off later this season. But for now, Sherlock is kind of busy. I'll talk about his wife in a second because there's a whole lot of Easter eggs with the person that they cast for that, as well as what's going on with her storyline. Number 9, though, Iris's plan to spice up her newspaper just goes completely off the rails. So the whole reason for what she's doing in this episode is because everybody thinks that her newspaper is totally lame. Remember, it's the Central City Citizen, the one that becomes the future newspaper that we've been looking at since the pilot episode way back in Season 1. They even used the gossip blogger from earlier this season to rag on her a little. She's just like, God damn it, why do people hate my newspaper? I guess I gotta make edgier stories. So she just tries to go after Cicada in a much bigger way. It goes completely off the rails. They mostly wind up using her storyline later in the episode to just sew all the plots together, because the whole reason for the big mission during the episode is that they need the device to help make the metahuman cure. But number 8, Goldface is running, quote-unquote, the market from Geoff Johns' Thinker arc that the blacksmith had been running, Amunet Black. So a big callback to Season 4 and a big callback to the Thinker arc from the Geoff Johns era of The Flash. If you're not a big comic book reader, when Geoff Johns was still writing the Flash comic during the Wally West era before Flash Rebirth, he did a Thinker arc. It was very different from what the TV show did with the character, but while that was going on, Wally West Flash was also dealing with the rogues in Central City. So you had like a big conflict with the Thinker in Keystone City, and you had all the rogues trying to come after him in Central City. The leader of that current version of the rogues was the blacksmith, Amunet Black. She had a black market ring that she was operating in Central City. They called it the Market. So that's what this market was from the episode. Goldface is a really old Flash villain, but he actually started out as a Green Lantern villain during the, I think it was the Golden Age or the Silver Age. Then he went to Keystone City and became a Flash villain. So for the most part, he was known as a Flash villain. But during that Geoff Johns Thinker arc where they were doing the Market, Goldface was just like a normal criminal, but a lot of his actual powers are sort of a reference way back to the Green Lantern era when he first started out in the comics. So they literally made him a gold face. Barry the chemist knew about the melting point of gold, so he used that against him later in the episode. But there's a bunch of other Easter eggs during that big heist sequence. So number 7, Barry's fake evil persona. Like, the whole thing about this episode is it was Barry having to pretend to be bad. The Flash is supposed to be one of the most good-hearted heroes in the DC TV universe. Oliver is one of the few people who has darkness within him. So something like this would be very easy for him to pretend to be an evil person to get what he needed. So Elongated Man was not wrong to be worried about how Barry was going to be able to pull this off. But things went off the rails anyway, so it didn't really matter that much. But when Barry calls himself the Chemist, it's just a reference to The Scientist, the original episode where he debuted during Arrow Season 2, Episode 8. The title of the episode was The Scientist because Barry Allen is a scientist, But then you have all the Council of Wells wives stuff. A lot of you may recognize the person they cast to be his wife from the Father of the Bride movies a long time ago. She also stars in a bunch of Lifetime movies. She did a movie with Tom Cavanaugh a little while ago. Obviously, they had a relationship. So if you're fans of those actors in real life, I'm sure there'll be a couple of Easter eggs for the projects that they've done together. But within the world of The Flash, the way they explain it is that Sherlock is just obsessed with this one woman, and he just marries her on every single world that he goes to. So they have fun with some of the similarities between those different versions of his ex-wife. So he winds up knowing just a little too much about her, and it's really creepy when they first meet, and they just play it for comedy. But the Council of Wells wives, obvious twist on the Council of Wells. We'll see how this goes down. I think they have a little bit of fun with it. The actual Council of Wells that they did last season didn't quite live up to my expectations. I had been hoping for a little more Rick and Morty spin on it, and they really just kind of played it for slapstick comedy, and it got like a little too ridiculous for me. So we'll see how they tune that for his wives. But we do learn that they've hired Breacher to get alimony from him when he jumps to other Earths. That's why they mentioned Breacher. In the first couple of episodes when he debuted, he said that he owed a lot of money to all the different versions of his wife. I guess hanging out on the dragon farm on the other Earth wasn't enough for him, so that's what Danny Trejo has been doing this whole time. Maybe he'll come back on The Flash sometime. There was sort of a subplot with Nora trying to help him as part of this, and she did seem pretty genuine. They just want to make you seem like, even though she's doing something that's really underhanded, she's not an evil person. Like, she genuinely wants to help him find love, but it's all part of this deception plot with the Reverse Flash, so it's all being done for this really shady reason. So there are a lot of moments in episodes like this where they write her doing bad things, but with a really good heart, so that you don't completely throw her under the bus by the end of the season. Number 5, Barry and Elongated Man do the Mission Impossible Fallout heist sequence. Couple of really good people having to pretend like they're evil and steal from a hospital, and they laid it on thick. Like, Elongated Man is looking through all the children that are going to get those special organs. Like, oh, I can't steal from these little kids. This is terrible. Well, of course it goes off the rails, but number 4, though, big Easter egg, the hospital that they're stealing from is part of Ivo Labs from the Elseworlds crossover. Remember, the ones that made the Amazo android. So it seems like some stuff from the Elseworlds crossover that got mixed up, some of the reality changing, stuck after they fixed things. Because originally on Arrow, the Amazo was the boat that Dr. Ivo, who was more of a scientist, worked on. Like, there was no Ivo Labs or anything like that. So the writers and the producers just sort of winked at that a little bit, like, oh, maybe something changed because of the Elseworlds crossover. Maybe reality has been warped. And that's why we have the real Ivo Labs in the actual Amazo from the comics now. There was a really weird Rob Zombie track on the laser tag sequence that they had when they were trying to take down the other criminals. It felt a little out of place tonally with what the Flash has been doing lately, and it actually did look like laser tag when they were taking down those criminals because of the way those guns worked. But 3, the Goldface, literal Goldface fight. I was actually pretty happy with their special effects, and when Barry took him down using science, bitch, all you have to do is electrocute him a little, the gold will heat up and just melt right out of his face. So it was pretty good special effects. I don't know how he would add that mass back to himself. Like, would he have to reheat himself back up to soak that back up into his eye so that his face would look normal again? Who knows? 2 is the Iris vs. Cicada fight. It was a little ridiculous, but I think this is all in service of that twist at the end where she's like, I have an idea for how we can give him the cure, because she stabbed him with the pen in his dark matter wound. Which I guess, based on the way their fight went down, he's weaker there, because normally, like, if you attacked him, like, the Flash has been attacking him all season long, and it hasn't fazed him at all. So the fact that Iris was able to hurt him significantly, like you see him scream in pain, is probably just because of where she actually stabbed him. Like, if she would have stabbed him anywhere else, he probably would have just shrugged it off and thrown her across the room. The way I explained Cicada's actions and the fact that it took him so long to figure out what was going on is because I don't think that he's ever heard Iris speak or seen her on TV, so he doesn't know anything about her being the wife of the Flash. The whole idea that Iris comes up with at the end of the episode, though, if it wasn't clear, like the pen that she picks up that she stabs him with, that gives her the idea that they'll just shoot him with a projectile that then will release the cure into his bloodstream. Number 1, though, was Sherlock's new wife winding up being a metahuman, completely shifting his focus, so Nora and Reverse Flash's plan worked better than she could have ever hoped. But this and that twist with the Council of Wells wives implies that she's going to be a much bigger character for the rest of the season. So you kind of see where his ending is. Like, if he is successful, he'll save her, they'll wind up in a relationship together, and he'll go off with her at the end of the season if this version of Sherlock does not come back and we get a different version next season. Quick reminder too, all of the DC TV shows have been renewed early for next season, so anything that is comic book on CW is coming back for another season, including Arrow, Black Lightning, pretty much everything you can imagine. So the mini Flash Arrow crossover, though, on the Arrow episode was because of the special documentary that they were doing, narrated by Kelsey Grammer. So they had a special scene with Grant Gustin talking to camera from a previous season about Oliver Queen as the Green Arrow.
It's like, looks like I'm a director, right? That's awesome. I messed it up? Sorry. Oliver is an interesting guy. Unbelievably damaged. I hope you won't mind me saying that. I don't mean, well, all I meant by that was just that he's lived through a lot of darkness. And all he really cares about is trying to make sure nobody else has to go through what he's gone through. No. I didn't know he was the Green Arrow until he turned himself in. I mean, whoa. Obviously, big surprise. I mean, you think you know a guy.
They had cameos from a bunch of other actors, like they had Quentin Lance in flashbacks because he's dead in present day. They had a scene with Thea, they had a scene with Sarah Lance, so they had a whole bunch of DC TV people talking about Oliver, but some of the interviews were taken from earlier in the timeline. But let me know in the comments what was your favorite moment from the Flash episode, and let me know if there's any Easter eggs that you spotted in the episode that I didn't mention in the video. What'll happen is there was a funny parody Wolverine Deadpool ad, and we got a whole bunch of news about a brand new version of Wolverine that Marvel is going to cast when Kevin Feige gets the characters. They also just released an official preview of Game of Thrones Season 8, so I'll be doing those videos next. They should be up in a little while. While you wait for that, click here to rewatch the Avengers Endgame Super Bowl trailer with all my Easter eggs, and click here for the Captain Marvel Super Bowl trailer. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.